Okay.
We'll call, I'll wait till Augie gets going. I've been talking to Ollie so much lately, I can say Ollie. We good? Would everybody please rise and join with me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here. Lud will now be joining us. Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll for
Patrick?
a special
Here.
meeting?
Bruner,
All right.
Ellis. You gotta keep up with me. Farnham.
Here.
Lawton.
Here.
Luddington. Voigt.
Present. So we do have a quorum. Lud will, like I said, Lud will be here. Lisa just texted me about 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago, and she was passing my house, so she should be here shortly. The purpose of the special meeting is to handle budgetary items, which include the general budget for Fund 100 and the tax levy. Kind of introduce it to you. We'll have a closed session later to cover personnel. And so we'll just start off with public comments. Okay, hearing none.
Now we got Okay.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Hearing none. It's like a euchre. If you can get that first card down before they say loaner.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
I just wanna raise some budget things, information stuff for you guys. Because, number one, I suspect that you've probably never been aware of the statute on some stuff I'm gonna cover. But I think it's important in light of all the things that are going on with budgets, under, over, whatever the case may be. Going back through your audits, in 2020, they reported a 1.385 over budget for the county. That's million. So that is a boatload of money that wasn't appropriated, may have been amended later, which we all know that the histories do amendments. We always do amendments, right? That's been the norm. In the budget section of the statute, further appropriations barred, semicolon, transfers. After the adoption of the county budget, no further appropriation shall be made at any other time during such fiscal year except as provided in this division. And that it outlines an emergency. That's, go ahead.
I just talked to our auditors about this, and I know what high regard you have for them. If we get in additional revenues that weren't budgeted and weren't foreseen, or anything else happens emergency-wise, only then can they be amended, and they will stand by that.
Well,
I'm just telling you.
okay, your auditors are wrong on one part of that, because the whole purpose of the appropriation is, like if I were to put a grant, or I apply for a grant and I'm looking for $2 million for the fire department, I put that in my budget. Because if I get the grant, now I can spend it. If I don't put it in the grant, I can't spend it.
There was court ruling on, like, the ARPA money. Nobody knew that was coming. Okay?
A court ruling or a federal change in the policy on how to spend ARPA?
Okay. It was decided in Illinois that you could, I don't know who did it. The way they read it and their attorneys say that we could amend the budget based on ARPA.
Okay, well, here's what I would urge.
Okay?
Always urge, ask them for the citation and the case law to support that, because the law and the county code, that's not the case. It's only for emergencies.
Well, then how did all these people all over the state use their ARPA money that first year?
We just always amend our budget. That's what we've always done. That's what we've always known. We just amend it, and
And
nobody's
it is legal based on getting new funds in that were not suspected.
not according to the county code.
According to them, it is.
Oh.
Why don't you call them? I'll give you the phone number.
Not a problem. I'll leave this with you. That's why I'm presenting this to you.
I asked
because
him
this is-
directly, and he said, we'll defend you to the,
They're not your lawyers, so they won't defend you, but anyway. And here's the flip side of it. And we know this goes on all over, and this is back
yeah,
in.
I don't know why I understand that, and don't say we don't know about it. But we understand that, and you and I have had that conversation 10 years ago when we amended the budget, when somebody went and cut 10% out of the whole budget. That was an emergency. Because they couldn't cut your salary by 10% and pass a
Well, for the
budget.
camera, I don't have a salary, I have to,
I mean, hypothetically.
I just wanted to make sure we're.
All right, because we have studied this stuff, Kirk.
Well, I'll give you the statute, and when
That's fine.
someone, I've always said, says who with what proof. If they tell you that you can do it,
I mean,
ask,
it's in the audit too, they said.
well, I'm gonna get to what else is in the audit. They tell you that you can do it, where's the statute to support it? Because this statute says you can't unless it's an emergency, and then it gives you provisions on the 2/3 vote requirement to do it. On that 2020 audit, and I'm not sure how this happened, but it says there was no 911 budget.
We don't pass a 911 budget normally.
The board didn't pass a 911 budget.
Well,
The
then that's
911
their,
board,
that's their,
you guys oversee 911. It was just a red flag that jumped out. It says the county was not in compliance with state budgeting laws. What laws were you not in compliance with? They never say. I do know one of them is this one that is highlighted, but this is a statement we've been finding on when they have their findings and they state, we talk to management. The response is, from management, we agree with the findings and have developed a corrective action plan. My question is, who was we?
I asked the same question.
Right, and we talked about this, and I got responses from both those, I think on the 19, was highway and 911, and
Right,
there is no corrective action plan that either department has,
and it doesn't appear in our 21,
but it does in the 20. So it's in the 19 and the 20, but we
but
don't
then
know.
they took it out.
Okay, it'd be interesting to know who we is, and we're
Well-
seeing that statement in other audits. That's why I bring it to your
I
attention.
asked, and he couldn't explain it. He said, well, when the budget is, when we hand you the audit as a draft, then you have to look at all that and say that, okay, we'll take care of all this stuff. And we're going, you gotta be kidding me.
I get it, but my point is, whenever you're gonna go back for another auditor, these are things that you need to be asking about, because those statements, that's a statement in the audit that's not true, and we ran into that in the past with stuff over the old ambulance years and years ago.
I will take care of getting a written
Awesome.
confirmation of that and make it available to you, whatever it is, and then you can deal with it however you need to.
The last issue, and it's just below this same budget statute that I'll leave with you. Contract or obligation in excess of appropriation. Except as herein provided, neither the county board nor anyone on its behalf shall have power, either directly or indirectly, to make any contracts or do any act which adds to the county expenditures or liabilities in any year, anything above the amount provided in the annual budget for the fiscal year. That ties back to the amendment powers. And it's actually a crime in the county code. Why they made it a Class B misdemeanor, I don't know, but
I asked the same question.
when you do your budget, elevated is the answer. And that sounds crazy, but by elevating it,
Then we expose the taxpayers to, that's not fair to the taxpayers.
well, you do it, there's a way to do it in a fashion that you still have controlled spending within your departments. But if you're anticipating money coming in, put it in there as a, an appropriation line item, because you can do transfers, but put it in some type of a line item, because otherwise, if you just keep amending the budget, the taxpayers can come back to recover triple damages in that type of a situation,
Okay.
because it's an appropriation that was never authorized. And I would urge you all to read that, because this is going statewide as to what's going on with budgets and amendments that are going on. And the whole goal is, and I'm not saying you guys aren't, the whole goal is statewide fiscal responsibility, living within the budget, which that budget is a contract with the people. If you tell the people this is what you're gonna appropriate, in 20, I think it was 20, it was 1.3 million more than you told them,
That's why we always budgeted borrowing money. That way, when we got to the end, we were, even if we were deficit spending, which we weren't last year for the first time in 12 years,
Thank you, federal government and ARPA.
Well,
Joe Biden did that for me.
Joe did this,
Yeah. Sure.
that had nothing to do with it. That's a separate fund.
Yeah, the last thing I have on your audits, looking back through them, if you go to the old auditor, you'll see a breakdown of every department. The clerk's department, the treasurer, the sheriff, I mean, a full breakdown by line item. You don't get that with your current auditor. It's a very generic, for most part, major funds are identified, and they don't go into the breakdown of where you may, and I know you do locally with the sheets the treasurer gives you guys, but the audit itself, there's really no way for the public to do that unless we start sending a bunch of FOIAs to the treasurer for those monthly
You
audit
wouldn't have
reports.
to FOIA them.
Well,
Send them to you.
regardless,
And we'll start putting them on we can put them on the, face, or on the.
tell the auditor to do
Yeah.
it. Tell the auditor to do it in the audits.
Well, he said, just so you'll know, they don't really audit the funds like that. Theirs wouldn't be an official audit. So the same, Don hands them this at the end of the year, and they type it into the computer. They don't even look at it.
If they sign their name to it, they ought to be looking at it. If they're
I'm
not,
just-
that's what they told you, I'd find a, what auditor told you that?
You know who told me that. Whooply. They said that they're
Wow.
following standard audit procedures for the state of Illinois, and that is not required, and it is not audited whether they put it in there or not. That's what they said. So I suggest, you know the folks at Whippley, you call and do the battle for us, okay?
Well,
Because
when
we
you
don't
hire-
have the time to start legally looking at everything. We rely on a certified public accountant,
right,
and they're supposed to tell us what's right.
right. When you do your scope, ask them to do it like your old
I
auditors
agree,
have.
by the way, I agree with it. It'd be nice to have it in a nice book to show.
Yep, because when they put their stamp on it and signed it, even if they told you they didn't look at it, I just handed you stuff that they're putting in audits that aren't true.
Well,
Because we know there wasn't a documented, whatever, corrective action plan, but they've
that
been
may
telling
be why
me.
they took it out in 21,
Well, it may be.
all right?
I'm all done, thank you.
No, you're fine. I didn't mean to argue with you so much. I don't usually do that on the phone.
Not a
At
problem.
any rate,
When's the last time you ever called me?
well, it's been a while. Go ahead, John. Do you have anything?
It would just piss you off, so I'll let you do it all.
Well, yeah, I'd like to be
Talk
able to
about
tell
it
my
some way.
board what's going on, and I plan to, okay? I'd appreciate that, John.
So you reserving your public comment for
I'm
after
not gonna
closed
make any
session?
rap songs or toilet videos, so.
Funny.
Are you sick?
Don't egg him on. Let's leave him alone.
I don't know if he's sick.
Okay. Lisa's here, so we're good to go. Do you wanna start with the budget or the levy? Which one do you wanna start with, folks?
Levy.
I think you had that yesterday. That's not much notice. I'm sorry.
Tell him.
I just wanna say something, and I'm not gonna complain to the AG.
All right.
It's a special meeting, you can only talk about what's on the agenda, and levy's not on the agenda, but it's budget. But go ahead, I'm not gonna complain. I know what you meant by putting the
Well,
budget.
you can't have the levy, you can't have the
I
budget without
understand.
the levy,
Go
okay?
ahead, I'm not gonna complain, just wanted to get under your skin a little bit. You're right.
Okay, the general levy, for Fund 100, it is, if you wanna skip to the very back page, it'll give you a synopsis of all the levies. It'll show you what we extended this year and what we're extending next year. We decreased retirement because retirement, and what the state asks our share to pay for our employees has gone down as well as the employees. Highway tax has gone up a little bit because we have to be as close as we can to maximum in order to get funds from the state. So that would include the CATB and the federal aid matching. But they're not all in order, but that would include those three funds, the 400, the 200, and the 200. And we can get into detail. Mental health asked for that increase, and that is below their levy maximum. And that is included in the verbiage under each levy. It says what they can tax. For example, well, let's start at the beginning. We can tax 27 cents per hundred for the general fund. The highway levy can only be 10 cents per hundred. The county aid to township bridges can only be 5 cents. Community health can only be, or mental health can only be 15. Federal matching fund can only be 5%. The county board of health can be 7.5 cents. Tort has no limit. Social Security has no limit. Education programs for the extension program is 0.3 cents or 3 cents per hundred. And special service tax district is 0 because they didn't ask for any in their bid. And then we're taxing no more, we're taxing at 20 cents for the Northern Edgar County ambulance system, okay?
20 cents?
20 cents. So what that represents at the bottom, we collected 3.818664 this current fiscal year, and next year we're asking for a 4.25% increase, mainly on the, would be the tort and Social Security is where most of it falls because of the increase in staffing, the increase in tort. Tort has just about doubled in the last 3 years. We're looking at approximately 10% increase. in
You
tort.
mean the cost for the tort is
Right.
increased 10%?
Right.
That's a big increase.
I didn't mean the levy, pardon me.
The general county tax,
Yes,
what's,
it stayed, I propose it stay the same, that's obvious, all of this is up to the.
that was my question. So we're not increasing the county levy on county tax, just leaving it the same? That's,
Yes,
that sounds
yes,
good.
and remember, the equalized assessed value is about 400 million. And it's probably gonna go up to about 413, 450. So when it does that, it'll actually drop that levy. You know, I mean, the dollars won't change, but the levy will fall significantly. I left the health department
Well, that
At
was
this
my next
point-
question.
the same as what we did last year. We have a month to
Right.
make any changes in that we wish to.
And they requested a,
5% increase, which would have put them at $252,000. And instead, we're at 240. And I assume that something will come out of a special meeting here soon, and we'll talk about that, okay?
okay.
So we have till when to change this?
What is it? the fourth?
November 2nd.
No,
November 2nd?
That's our first meeting in November.
November
And
2nd.
that's when we promote the budget for adoption and inspection, and then we'll actually pass it on the 23rd,
Yes.
along with the budget.
Okay, that's the second meeting in November.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
And then the mental health tax, what did they ask? Did they ask for an increase?
Yeah, they, excuse me, Carl, I closed that part. Last year, they collected 522.6, and they're asking for 540.
Okay.
And what is that, an $18,000 increase?
And I haven't been at their last two meetings to be part of that conversation.
They actually passed that in May, I believe, May or June, that request. That's when, isn't that when you guys do it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then Bobby, well, this year, the director got it to me. I think they sent it to me and I couldn't find it, so we resent it.
Jonathan.
Eh,
Jonathan, HRC. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you say Bob.
You said Bobby.
Did I say Bob?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jonathan.
we knew what you meant,
Yep.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
I thought I said director is what I thought I said. All right, but it doesn't matter, it is Jonathan.
So the total increase is what percent?
4.25. And you get that by subtracting last year's, or this year's collection from what we're proposing, and then dividing it by what they're collecting this year. And that should come up to roughly 4.25%.
And of course, the reduction in county retirement tax does not anywhere equal the increase in social security tax.
No, that got out of hand, and a lot of that is because of COVID. And then we've done some increases during the year to catch up, to be competitive. There's been some, and of course, there's increases in some salaries. The judges, or not the judges, but the probation, the sheriff, the public defender all get increases, and we gotta figure, and then we pay, remember, we pay the salaries of everybody, you know, HRC, no, we don't pay HRC, we
No,
pay
health
the health
department.
department, the highway department, and 911, we pay, and then we can't charge them for that, that all comes out of the levied funds. So you've got plenty of time, we can discuss it at the next study sessions, I just wanted to get it to you. We're a little late this year, but we've just had some extraordinary issues, so. It was done a while back, and we didn't know what certain things were gonna happen, but. So you got it, and you can raise and lower anything you want. Okay. How about the budget then? Get to the right page. All right, in the last few days, I've talked to most of the department heads and elected officials in person. There's a couple of, like Harsey, and Don that I didn't talk to face to face. I talked to everybody else is on the budget since the first of the week. So I just wanna let you know that I had done that. So, the first section is income. And that's based upon what we have done this past year and years past. Normally I have on here current FY, or the last year's 21, so you can see what we did in 21. But we weren't able to get that because of issues with Don and his family. I'm not putting it all on Don, but it is his fault, so. But we just don't have those comparisons. As soon as we can, and if you've got one of these deals that I gave you, you can do that.
Somewhere, I think I have, maybe I left it at home, I was looking at it last night, but
Yep. So what we've tried to do is project what we're gonna do next year based on the projections of this year.
if anybody has any question, I got the 2021.
I just have a question. How do you arise at such large jumps in like sales, supplemental sales tax, state income tax, and personal property tax?
Well, first of all, because the state is sending us, since the beginning of this fiscal year, a lot more money. I mean, it's been phenomenal. In fact, I've even been somewhat conservative. For example, state income checks actually projects out to $1.1 million. But I just couldn't pull the trigger on that, okay? So they're a little less than what we've got this year, but that's what's happened. Like on state income tax, supplemental tax, we've still got 5 months to go, and we've collected $325,000. On income tax, we have 5 months to go, and we've already collected $630,000. On local use tax, that's about even. Cannabis tax, projected, that didn't start for the whole year, and we're based on what we receive every month, we should be at that 10 grand. Video gaming, that's another one that started this year, and that's going to be really up there. Personal property, we've already collected $395,000, and we still got 5 months to go.
So define for me, please, what's included in personal property tax?
Augie, can you do that? Because I always step on that.
I'm sorry, what was-
Personal property tax, can you define that for me?
well, the exact definition, I don't think I can, but, is that where the RHSIP, yeah, it's the rental income portion of everything that we record. We get to keep like $1 of it, and the rest of it goes up to, the Springfield, and then that all goes in a pot, and then it gets divvied up and comes back out to us. Is that,
790,000? Wow.
So what kind of growth I'm sorry if this gets philosophical, what kind of growth statewide happens that there's such an increase from last year to this year? Does anybody understand that?
well, it's if it's recording, it's just property changing hands, and we're seeing more large farm sales in Edgar County. So I can't speak for the other counties, but I assume it's going on other places too. Corporations are buying up the farm ground.
Yeah, don't I know? Okay.
Yeah. And prices go up, we had a hot market, and there's been a lot of recording going on.
Yeah, we've almost doubled what we suspected, and we still got 5 months to go. And then, of course, the reimbursements for care, we've cut those, we've cut those to 0 because they're actually transfers, and you're gonna see them on another part of the income. And the sheriff's reimbursement is based upon his new salary. Let's see. State's attorney reimbursement is based upon his new salary, so it's up slightly.
And they pay 100%, or state,
80, I think, 80%.
so his salary's more than that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I hadn't looked back here.
Now, let's see, maybe it's 90%. I think it's 90% they pay that one.
Okay.
I think his salary is almost 150. Okay?
Okay.
Not quite.
Yeah. All right.
Let's see. Supervisor of assessment, we do a P-tax change on that, and then we get back, I forget, do you know how much we get back? It's either 80%, I think on that one, or 90.
I think something like that.
And then probation, they had a big jump this year, and so the state is paying more probation than they have before. They actually give us the figure that they're gonna give us. Let's see, ESDA and IEMA, we checked with them, and that's what we should have coming. The reason we've gotten more this year is because they reimbursed us for the cost of the 5-year plan. And we still have about 21,000 coming back to us in this year, and then we have 21 coming back in next year. Let's see, the animal shelter and City of Paris, that's what they, what they send us a check for. But I did check, and that ground is owned by the city. Okay? Let's see.
So I assume that if they wanted it back, they'd get the building too.
Well, I think we should start talking about it, okay? I assume that's why you probably suspected that, and we probably should talk to them about it.
Mhm.
Or renew a lease that gives us, you know, a legal lease that gives us for $1 a year, or some transfer, or transfer of some amount of money or something of value, so that we know we're locked into it.
Who paid for the building to start with?
I have no idea. I don't know on either building. Let's see. Let's see, reimbursement of public defender, we get X amount of his salary. I separated them out so you could see, I think that's one I did. Public defender. This is like watching paint dry, sorry. But you should try doing it sometime.
Paint.
He told me what his salary was and I didn't separate it out. We've got $172,000 budgeted, but that includes, the adjunct public defender and, there's a couple of other attorneys plus his salary, okay?
So in the end, only the actual public defender's salary is reimbursed, the
Yeah.
rest of it is ours then?
Yes. Let's see, county clerk's fee, you can go in and see how we've been collecting on that. Augie's been standing with the tin cup, and he's still got a couple of 3 months to go, and he's just $20,000 short in 3 months, and he doesn't really stand out there with the tin cup.
No, it's a gunny sack.
Off with his head.
All these fees that you see, we're just simply, I mean, there's no hard and fast 100% guarantee. We take the last couple of years, you know, and see what we got monthly, and we multiply it by 12, and we try to come up with what our best guess is. And trends, okay? And trends. You know, there's a bunch of innocuous things like drainage district fees collected, that's for collecting taxes. At the end of the year when we collect property tax, that's included in that, and Don collects that. State's attorney's fees, fines collected. Interest on CDs, we have been doing much better on interest on CDs, and Don has gotten more and more plugged in. We can't use, it was suggested that we use a, what is it called?
iBond?
iBond. We can't, well, we can use it for some of our stuff.
Yep.
However, we cannot use it for the $9,967,500.
Not the federal money.
No, that's bond money. We can't use that because we can't make more interest than what we're paying. So that's how the bonds are written. In other words, you can't,
Well,
we
that
can't pay
makes
4
sense.
3/4 or 4.35 and turn around and invest it for 9%. They don't let you do that. The IRS is really funny about that. So, at any
But
rate.
there are some funds you can use it on?
Absolutely, we can use it on the ARPA, we can use it on the surpluses that we have.
See the rate?
Yeah.
That's a 9+%, that's a hell of an interest rate.
I haven't been able to talk to Don here though for the last
I
few
wonder,
years.
to get like 9%, how long are you locked in?
What is it,
to?
I think it's a year.
I thought minimum was a year, if I remember right, and they go up to 5, if I recall correctly.
Do you pay anything for the mass transit?
No,
Just check.
do you want us to?
No,
There's a little joke now.
absolutely not. I want you to go get the buses back again.
All right, Let's see.
Corrections officer?
franchise fees is like with, what what am I thinking, what's the system down there? That's gonna be moved out here also? What's our communication system?
Oh,
Century
Century
Network.
Century Network, there's some other agreements that we have, liquor licenses, and there's some other fees, but it all adds up to about 22 grand a year. Let's see,
So the highway department will have high-speed internet now, once you get everything.
yeah, and we won't have to pay, think, what is it, $3.50 a month?
Cow, you're kidding.
And then we've got the health department pays for their share of the smart watt, and we adjust that every year depending on what their payment is. And then we get rabies and dog fund and transfer over, that varies from year to year, but we've already worked it out for this year, and then when it comes time next year, we'll work out what it actually is,
What month do you transfer that?
whenever we want to, John. Because the Department of Agriculture said they weren't gonna burn us on it.
Oh, so you know you transferring out on the month you're not supposed to?
Oh, hey, you know, we really could get in sync, but I just wanna piss John off. No.
I wish you'd provide a letter that the Department of Agriculture told you that.
That way we could write about the
You
Department
told
of
me that.
Agriculture.
I know.
Alright, enough of this, whatever it is. Transfer of reimbursements, and those reflect transfers into, instead of treating as revenue from ARPA, or whatever funds we have that will need to come back. If we decide to.
That ARPA, is that the federal CARES money or whatever it's called?
Yeah. Then you've got general expenditures for administration, and you notice we got bank fees and miscellaneous and capital improvements. We have set at 512,000, that's no magic number. That would be kind of we've expanded that to more than cover what we probably will do. Then you have the transfer out for the 36,000 that the original board years ago figured they'd get from 911. And instead we've had to do that because that funding source did not work out. So what we've done is doubled up on that one so we can catch up. We've been doing that for a number of years. Then we've got our smart watt payment that's due in October of next year.
Would new chairs be a capital investment?
In here,
Yeah.
that's highway department.
Oh,
Courthouse match has to do with we're assuming that'll be next fiscal year by the time we have to pay that. Jail grants, studies, we left at 80 grand in case we need that for something. And then grant data go ahead.
Zero on the grant.
Oh, yeah, we dropped that to, I'm sorry, we
Zero.
dropped that to 0, I'm sorry. Because that will be included in the, everything else. Grant and GATA, we dropped based upon experience. We put in 40 last year because we didn't know how much that was gonna cost us. We reimbursed the highway department for Josh's time on a lot of that stuff. He's our GATA coordinator for all the different agencies that under the county's umbrella, keeps us on the straight and narrow so that we're eligible for grants and we can get refunds. Correct, Josh?
Yes, I'll try to.
Or get reimbursed, not refunds. Okay, then we start with the county clerk's budget.
sharpen your pencils.
Close your ears.
Now, you will see some variance in payroll on his, for example, on his line item, and whether it be the treasurer or whatever. You'll notice that probably jumping higher than what you thought, but you gotta remember that the 112 from last year did not include some of the increases that we gave during the year. So that reflects that, and then whatever each department head or elected official has deemed necessary that they need in order to maintain flexibility and a system that they can evaluate their staff and motivate them to do more and better. Is that about a good way to put it? So he happens to be here, so if you wanna ask him,
Well, I just wanted to point out, not his office, treasurer's office, circuit clerk, like maybe four of them, they are asking for a 10% increase in salaries. That's what it amounts to, except the supervisor assessor, I think I looked at that and she must be planning on a 10% increase plus adding a full-time employee, because I think
I can explain that.
okay.
Number one, that is not a 10% increase over this year, because some of that money has already been spent. In other words, if you actually looked at the expenditures for example, county clerk deputies, he's probably spending like 115 right now, annually. Because, remember, we decided we were gonna get competitive with raises, or with what we pay. So we had some people that were making $13 or $14 an hour, and we bumped them up to 15. I don't think we had any 13, but if they were making around 14, we bumped them up to 15.
There was a couple that were making 13 something,
Well,
and some of the other, not his.
no, that's what I'm saying, not
Some other
his.
office, right.
Yeah,
Right.
and so we bumped those. We also bumped one of the department heads up, because she wanted to leave, and she had another job. And so we've done things throughout the year that make that 112.4 obsolete.
Is that the health department?
No, this is, yeah. You're on board.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at salaries on most of the girls up there, and like in one office, it ranges from 17 an hour to 18.90 an hour. Another one is 15.20 to 21.80,
And if anybody wants to look at these, but they have special skills too.
right? Another one is 17.50 and 21.30. Another one is 15, 16, and 21. Another one is, a part-time person is 15.20, and then the other only person in the office is $23 an hour. In the sheriff's office, it's 17.40, public defender 18.70. Health, just the secretaries 15 to 19, so that's a range.
Right.
And I know we were concerned when we brought this up last spring about some of them making $13 to $14, and we bumped them up.
Right.
And I know some of the offices, two or three ladies have left this summer, or this past year, because they found much better paying jobs.
Right.
You know, that's a concern, you know, we wanna make sure we're fair to them, and we wanna be able to keep our good employees, but I just wanna be careful that we don't go too much, cause then, you know,
Well, it's up to all 7 of us whether we
Right.
accept what they're proposing.
that, you know, we start getting to the point that, you know, maybe this tax levy isn't high enough, we might have to raise it. Obviously, we've got the jail, you know, when we get to the sheriff's budget, you know, they've asked for 3 more new employees. You know, just, it all adds up, you know, we gotta be a little careful here.
Well, most of them could go GSI or milk specials, make $18, $20 an hour, so
That's
you
tough.
gotta be competitive, or you're losing.
Well,
That's my
and when you
point.
lose them, if they're a good employee,
Right.
and
that's
usually
my
they're
point. Yeah.
trying to lure away a good employee,
Mhm.
not only do you have to bring a new one in, but then you gotta train them. In Augie's case, if they're not a registrar, but if they're what's Billy Ann?
Recorder.
Recorder. You don't just go into the office without a couple of years' experience and figure out how to do that. So, anyway, go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out, just be conscious of it.
Absolutely. If anybody wants to see the salary sheets, it's right here. Just fresh off the press. It's by department. So then we move into Don's area, as I recall. county clerk, then Don's. You will note there that 4 down is 50-45. And I put in 25,000, which is roughly a half a year for at the HR payroll person, if we decide to do that. If we don't decide to do that, then we won't spend it. But I thought it would be a good idea to put it in there so we would have the flexibility. And of course, that raises Don's up considerably, but not as much as you would think. Supervisor of assessment. We're going to have to renegotiate the supervisor of assessments contract. It's a 4 or 5-year contract. And we're trying to keep her up with the elected officials. She has one heck of a job there. She does very good, very well. We never have any issues that she can't handle. She's done a lot to strengthen that department and bring very qualified people into it that do a good job. So,
Is she planning on increasing that person?
no,
It's a pretty high
that-
increase.
She, you know, 37,000.
she already added the person this year. Your budget is gonna be, again, there's a situation where she already brought somebody else in. So, the last year's budget is not correct, you'd have to add what she had to put in for
Okay,
that.
so she's got 3 full-time people and then the 2 part-times. Okay.
She wasn't getting it done. Probation, the state approves that pretty much, and that's what we get our money based upon what they pay, and the judges approve it, so it's just in here. I don't mean we don't have any influence on it, but we have fairly, not very much is what I'm trying to say.
Looks like they substantially raised,
They raised
Salary.
mid-year and sent us an extra 10 grand
did they?
mid-year. Let's see, probation. And again, I talked to Monty and I talked to Augie, talked to Dina, person to person. Then we've got the state's attorney.
I noticed
Go ahead.
back on the probation,
Yes.
they've, 12,000 is budgeted, and so far this year, we've spent right at 30,000.
Okay. Sorry, Carolyn.
I mean, I noticed they had 12,000 budgeted this year, and they're putting in 12 for next year, but I don't know what last year, you know.
Yeah, I
Of
see
course, that varies, you know, you don't know.
that. Yeah,
you know, as
it
far as-
depends on what we got.
Right.
Remember that one year, a couple of years ago, and then we had to pay for all the psychiatrists, and I mean, it drove up that and the core
Yeah.
budget.
I'm looking back in 2021, they did 8,700,
Yeah,
so, okay.
okay, then we got state's attorney.
So we have assistant state's attorney and part-time state's attorney. Assistant at 70 and part-time at 19.5.
Okay, that's an assistant, meaning it's an assistant clerical.
So like I know I've been up there, and there are 2 women there.
Yes.
Are those 2 people here? One's the deputy and one's the assistant state's
Okay, you
attorney?
got state's attorney, then you got Amy, then you've got Phil, and then you've got
Cynthia.
Cindy.
Okay, I was missing a person there.
Okay. Phil is the temporary, he's trying to lure him on full-time, but Phil's the half-time assistant state's attorney, and he's starting to function rather well, I gather.
So do we have a budget in here for full-time? That's the assistant state's attorney.
That is a full-time. That is the salary. It used to be 62. He wanted to bump it up to 70 to make us a little bit more competitive. Okay? That is a full-time position. He's only using half of that right now. I mean, what would be equivalent of half of that? Half the 60-some thousand.
And that's what we were paying last year because we were splitting it.
Right.
Half the time was in Edgar County and the other half was in Clark County. But then, we went to the state's attorney and wanted to make it a full-time position, and it was for a while till Mark moved on.
Right, and we were getting half of that salary out of the rescue funds. Okay, so that's still available to us if we move forward. And if we get somebody full-time, we'd be reimbursed by the rescue funds.
For how long?
35,000. Well, at least for the year, that's a decision the board makes year to year.
So the rescue funds are permanent, as permanent as things get?
We got 2 payments of roughly 1.6 million.
Right, but
But that's gotta be used up by,
December 31st of 2024.
okay, so you're saying we would be using that fund that's already there, it's not an ongoing fund, there's not another fund, I was not understanding.
No,
Okay.
sorry.
I think, 2.5 million
Yeah.
is currently in that fund.
Yep.
That has to be used up by, about 2 years.
We get the courthouse roof, I think will do a lot for that.
Right.
Okay, then we got circuit clerk. I basically talked to Matt, went up, we talked, and he's the one that generated that. And every department, I may wanna say, is handling their own increases. This is the first year in a number of years that Carl and I have been around that we haven't said, okay, we're allowing 2.5%, or we're allowing 3%. It does a number of things. It turns over back to each department and each administrator the actual ability to reward and promote and operate their department the way they see fit. We also wind up not having a problem with the unions that way. In other words, if Alden wants to give somebody a 5% raise, and he's doing it, we have no control as a board of the body. So they can't come back and say, you guys gave a 5% raise, so we should all get a 5% raise. Hate to be crude about that, but that's how it can be interpreted. And they're evaluating their own people and deciding how they're operating their own department. We're trying it, and that's a way that if it gets out of hand, like Carl says, then we're gonna have to reevaluate how we're doing things. Any questions on the judges? Are we going too fast through this? And we can, you want me to go faster.
I didn't say that.
You're like me with Aaron. You wanna, wait a minute. The third explanation, I understand. All right, let's see. Okay, sheriffs. Now, I still put in the 155. I hope that's about right, Carl. I mean, I think that's
Yes.
close,
Yeah.
right?
It'd be basically the same as it is this year.
Okay. And the
Well,
Go
it
ahead.
depends. They wanted me to come up with, the cost for 5, currently we have 5 dispatchers and then the possibility of 6. So I gave those costs to her, and our next meeting is gonna be discussed, so they might want us, push us, wanting to get a 6th dispatcher.
Well, my recommendation, and I know they're not gonna care for it much, if they want a 6th one, they can pay for it.
Well,
Because I'm gonna show you, I've talked to the boys over at the jail about this, like you have, and I have some suggestions,
Right.
so,
But, yeah, because it's, for each additional dispatcher, the total cost to the county for, for this fund is around $60,000.
yeah,
So if they wanna do that extra dispatcher, they're paying 45% of the cost of the dispatching. They'd be paying basically 27,000, and we'd be paying 35 plus. So,
I understand.
that's additional cost to us, and we don't, the only reason you would need that 6th dispatcher basically is because of 911. To answer the sheriff's department phones, we don't need that extra person on the shift. They want 2 of the shifts have 2 people on all the time. So, I
Well,
just wanna explain to them that, if they want that, it might be all on them. If not, we might not be sharing 35%. So that could change
well,
the reimbursement, what they'd be giving us.
yeah, cause all we need to maintain 5 dispatchers with the current raise to go into effect is 205 grand in that particular line item. And they've got it at 244.7.
Yeah, because they're planning on an additional dispatcher.
Right.
Because,
I'm on page 2, by the way. Well, I'll go back. Well, anyway, go ahead. I
Yeah.
figured they did, cause I
Yeah.
asked.
I saw that and I was talking to the coordinator and said that Derek had come to her and said something about maybe if you want to add this, and said, yeah, so.
Well, at any rate, going back to the first page where it has administrative, that first administration includes Jeff's bump up to, or the sheriff's bump, excuse me, up to 116,000 some odd dollars.
You call that a bump?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It also includes Derek and Jay and Vicky. I did have a question, there's another Vicky, but she only worked and she's not working,
Yeah, no,
but, so that came up to $265,700, of which we're getting about 80 grand back from the feds, from the state.
Can we go back to safety tax?
Sure.
Um,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
had a question on that too. Go ahead, Lisa.
We took it out of there as an income because it's a transfer. So it's in the first
It's in
funds.
another place.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay? Good question, I was gonna do that and I forgot, sorry. And the same way for correctional officers, they're a little light. I came up with about 368,000 and they've got 364 would cover their expenses for the 9 people.
Yeah, and that'd be adding an additional person.
Well, they've already, we gave them permission to go to 9.
That was gonna say here a month or so ago, we had a sheriff's committee meeting and we talked about that because, they couldn't find part-time help.
Right.
And just overtime was bumping up, so, and then also with once the new jail comes here, the state said, you're gonna have 9 to cover everything, so we told them to go ahead and try to find someone now, they've had some turnover, and, I think they've had a couple guys this summer leave and go to, one went to Danville and one went to DOC in Indiana, and maybe some more, but,
Then the the sheriff's deputies, in order to cover their officers that they currently have, there's 8 officers.
correct.
And that would be, and with increases based on that would be 425,000 roughly, Carl, I don't know what you came up with. But I multiplied 8 guys' salaries by 1.025 was what the contract calls for. And that would be the increase. What's the matter, Carl?
A $50,000 increase,
No, I'm saying it should be 425,000. That would only be
Not the 461,000.
I'm saying
Yeah.
that's too much money.
Yeah,
They
they're
want-
they're
they
wanting to
want
add another deputy.
And you know where I would tell them that they ought to get the other deputy? Cut the overtime hours. What we're
And
paying out for
That ain't gonna
overtime.
happen.
Right,
So
so, well, and
So-
then
basically, I agree
you
with
and I are both in agreement.
Yeah, correct.
Well, hopefully you guys, we
Well.
didn't mean to leave you alone.
But, yeah, you know, according to union contract, both, they get 2.25% increase. That's on salaries.
Right. We have a 3-year contract.
Right, and
Yeah.
next year will be the last year of it.
Right. At the end of '23.
Next year will be renegotiated
Right.
and look
At this
out.
time, we'll be renegotiating.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you on that.
See, I don't think the county
No.
should stand the cost of another dispatcher. There's gotta be another way to do it. If they wanna somehow cut their overtime, maybe we could talk about putting in another officer on the street, maybe.
Yeah.
And
So,
then,
and I think you're talked to the sheriff about a meeting next week if
Right.
we can get something scheduled.
Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. I was gonna talk to Augie about this here in a few minutes.
But at that meeting, we've got several things to talk about, but one is talk about his budget.
Yeah.
You know, some adjustments.
Courthouse security, we're not using, but about 15 to 20,000, so we cut 10 out of that. Correctional officers, part-time, we're not using that, so we cut that by 10. I did raise a couple things over what the sheriff asked for, because the reality of the situation is that the $60,000 budget for overtime for deputies, they haven't hit that in years. We might as well put it in with a carrot to reduce it,
Yeah.
and put it in about what it should be.
And now that they went to the 12 hours shifts, it's gonna make it even more overtime.
And I've got Rick looking at whether they needed our approval on that, or where that came from. I don't know.
We don't remember ever talking
And
about
I don't wanna start World War III over
Right.
it, but we need to know.
Right.
What? Correctional officers, however, I don't know how it's gonna go, but with the 9, they should have a reduction, so we actually reduced that by the 15 grand. And then dispatcher overtime, we increased to 45. Because that's what they're spending,
Right, and especially if they get the 6th dispatcher, it'll have to be higher.
right,
But back up to dispatchers part-time,
yes.
I know I told you the other day, they've only got one part-time
Oh,
person. He
can we
works
reduce,
at least to 10,000.
Okay.
Probably won't even use that much, but
okay,
Now, why do you add another person, does overtime increase?
because whenever you add a person, they're working 5 days a week, and every time they take off, someone's gotta fill that shift.
So they don't
And
have
it's
more
always someone
flexibility?
else, it has to be a union person, and it's an overtime rate.
So they don't have more flexibility by adding another person?
you would think so, but it never
It don't-
works out that way.
It doesn't,
You've watched it
can't
for
work that
years,
way. No, it just doesn't work that way. You know, they say it will, but it doesn't. I've been there, I know.
I'm not doubting it,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to grasp it.
Right,
Why?
I mean, we,
That just is the opposite of logic.
no,
Now, if you go down through here, and I can't tell you a lot, we've gotta ask the sheriff about some of this. I do know gasoline, and they had put in there, I think, 35 or 40, and I bumped it to 50 grand, because gas is not coming down real soon. And I hope to hell I'm wrong about it. That would be nice to hear that I was wrong about this issue, but if we're gonna really do things and look at it, in reality, that's where they need to be. I have a question, why are we feeding staff?
yeah, I noticed that. I mean, it's minimal, but it's still
They spent
$200.
$136 so far
Yeah.
this year
Staff
on
meetings?
staff food.
I have no idea on
They
that.
do lunch
Well, we
staff
need to-
meetings?
Right,
Well, this used to be a big thing, and we got it out of there.
Is it during inmate transfers?
I don't know, we were gonna ask.
Go from one place to another, they buy lunch on the road, that used to be what it was.
Okay, well, we're
That
just
makes
gonna
sense.
ask, so it doesn't get out of control, you know, you don't watch something, and 3 years later, we're spending $8 grand on food for the staff, you know?
And then when we meet with them, you know, the food, you know, they've already over budget. And I don't remember an increase in the cost of the food,
Well, but
Yeah.
there may be, and we haven't been told,
Yeah,
Right.
I can't
because
imagine
everything
it's not.
else is going up. Anyway, they had 85,000 in there and I put 95.
right?
So these are things that the sheriff doesn't know about yet. But with what we're talking about, if we implement, we can cut $102,000 out of that budget. If they pay for, 911 pays for the person, we take out the deputy, we cut some of those part-time things down to where they should be and where our experience is, we wind up saving about $102,000.
Because the current budget is 1.74 million, and he's basically asking for a $190,000 increase.
I'm not saying it's great, I'm just saying it does cut 102,
Right.
so
And then,
Well-
yeah,
that would be,
That includes the mandatory increase in salary, which is a little bit of that, right?
yep, oh yeah, definitely. And you know, there's a $15,000 increase in gas. Overtime, we've increased, 15, 20, 35, 30 grand. Food, 10, you know, doesn't take long. So it would roughly cut that down to about $100,000 increase instead of a $200,000 increase. I'm not saying that's perfect, I'm just saying,
It doesn't mean you're spending that much either, even though you budgeted. No, it doesn't.
It means go for that.
I'm used to that.
before long, we're not gonna be able to afford the new jail.
This is
Gotta watch
that way. This stuff.
Operated.
did you want to pontificate about that a little bit more?
Oh, that's enough.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so then we go into, let's see, public defender. I think I've explained that, sort of.
Do you know off the top of your head, do we have a several year contract on the rent on the building for the public defender? Yeah, I know.
But we can, he's fine whenever we wanna leave it.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, you know, Rich is probably getting close to 70, and I don't know how, he's the only attorney in there, how many years he's gonna be. But I'm just curious what we had with that on an agreement.
And remember, we're getting reimbursed for half the public defender too. So whatever we pay the public defender, we're getting half that back.
And when we have to have a second public defender on a case, where's that?
That comes out of the 106, or no, I'm
That's
looking
that
at the
same
wrong
line?
budget, yes. And I should, I'm gonna try to break that out before we in the final one, so we can see what those two figures are, like I've done.
Yeah, because we've got a lady from Effingham that's on contract, and then from time to time, there's a
Cash,
conflict.
yeah.
We have to have some local attorneys,
Yep.
you know, on
Well, the one that we have on contract, the adjunct,
the.
is 40 grand a year. So, but she does a good job,
Mhm.
and the judges and the attorneys all work together well with her, so. Not that they wouldn't. But she's a no-nonsense, let's get this done kind of person, which is really great. Let's see, then you got,
You pay her how much?
40 grand a year. She only works part-time.
Okay,
Yeah, she's got her own practice, and
then that makes.
she was able to leave, we've got her, we don't share her with Clark County anymore. She's come to us.
She just used, like when maybe there's two defendants in one case, you know, the public defender will have one, and they'll sign the other one to her, and then. if
So
there's
there's
a
no
She is
conflict-
part-time
Oh, yeah,
then? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
I guess I was.
but she, you know,
Didn't we budget for a full-time one?
No,
No,
not
that-
for, not
Not
for
for
an edge.
public.
Public
All
defender,
right.
Harsey we did. Go ahead, Carl, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is just when there's a conflict,
Okay.
We don't need a full-time to do that.
yeah.
Now, we could, if we were big enough and we had deep pockets, we could go to two public defenders or an assistant public defender, and we could go with a second, assistant state's attorney. A lot do. They have one assistant that helps the state's attorney himself with major cases, and then they get one, I told you I had lunch with some of
Right.
those. They said they have an assistant that just handles youth. And that works out really well. But I mean, it's gonna cost, you know, another 70 plus all the benefits.
I mean, probably Danville and Coles County, they probably have, you know, several assistants.
Well, this was, I think, Marion County, Marion and Crawford.
Crawford, I mean, Marion's not that big either.
No, but they have them.
Hmm.
Now Jasper doesn't. That was the other,
A lot smaller than us.
yeah. Other questions that we've gone through here pretty quick. Border review, that's Lisa's, I'm sorry, Dina's purview, and she supplies the budget. County board, based on everything we know, that's what we've got. Animal shelter, remember we gave Andrea an increase, so that's a small increase. I think it's, she gave her, recommended the 3% increase for this coming year. And then we've got enough money for a part-time person. The jail, or the shelter administrator, who is currently Dyke Davis, she is trying to get somebody else to do that. Because it's, God bless Dyke, he's just, you know, so, any rate, through that.
You make Dan feel bad. What's that?
You know, I'm impressed that animal shelter supplies isn't higher. Is that because they get so
Lot
many
of- they get a lot of
donations?
A lot of donations.
You know, not to do this to it, but, you know, when I'm at Walmart, I just buy an extra bag and just drop it off.
Really.
People,
Why
a
not?
lot of people do.
They don't get donations from Mattoon anymore?
Yeah, I think they do, but I
They
mean,
don't? I didn't think
Don't
they
think
did.
they don't
I
anymore,
think so.
okay.
No, I don't.
Well, they might wanna call them up, they might. do
We
it.
take treats out there sometimes and, you know, just different things. Dogs are human too.
Those are our cats.
Well, and she did some
Hey, we
improvements
got
out
litter
there.
boxes in schools, so
Yeah,
what's the
but,
issue?
Was that covered somewhere?
The litter boxes and stuff?
Yeah, I think a lot of them donated help.
For the kids to
Sure,
identify
I
as
think they have to
pets.
pay for, but,
Yeah.
well, different funds you take it out of, like donations. You get a lot of donations of money. A lot of the stuff that are done out there is taken out of donations.
Gotcha.
Now we have free labor, so it works out real well.
Free labor,
Well,
Volunteers.
volunteers,
I'm joking,
volunteer labor.
I'm joking.
There's some pretty nice people around town. Yeah.
Travel expense includes her vehicle? So it's all vehicle and gas maintenance.
You have to ask the
She
board.
takes, animals to different, towns, Champaign.
Right, I was just
Rockville,
surprised that it
places
wasn't
like that.
more than that, but I guess you transfer a vehicle to her, right?
Yeah,
She
yes,
gets
we
an
do.
old,
From the,
okay, so there's no expense for the vehicle itself,
no.
just for maintenance and gas.
Gas, yes.
Okay. Then we got ESDA, and they really aren't getting any increase. They're, one's going up 4 hours and the other one's going up 6 hours of work. And that's all they wanted here. They wanted to be able to do more. That guy's coming in, next week, I understand, next Wednesday or Thursday. You know, like I told you, I told her if she wants to be in the new jail, she needs to find a mine. So, Let's see. Airport. Pretty straightforward.
Paying that guy out there.
What are we paying him?
Yeah.
Which guy? There's two guys. One's getting roughly 16,600 and the other one's getting 29,000.
It's the head honcho.
He's getting 16,600. Under the new schedule, he'd get 17,600.
And he works how many hours roughly a week?
About 20.
Seems to be
But
doing a
he's
fine
there
job.
more, he's there more than that. What?
Seems to be doing a fine job.
We do have, let's see, there's a bump there.
The electrical,
Yes, our power bill, I couldn't believe it, our power bill is that much more.
Thank you, Joe Biden.
He actually called Ameren to come out and check it
right.
to see if it was accurate. It is.
Well, I've heard several people, Ameren, like my brother is on Ameren, and I'm just down the road, Interstar, and his bill's always half. Used to be,
Right.
but it's bumped up.
Yeah, they, we pay what, a little over 14 cents a kilowatt, maybe a little bit more than that. They're now paying 18, according to them, they're paying 18 cents a kilowatt.
Wow.
Because they made some bad, anyway, the contracts they had didn't work out like they thought they were going to. So that accommodates most of that increase in that budget.
Is there any, I'm not wanting to, if it's not appropriate, is there any talk about increasing rents out there? Have they been increased any time?
Not in 10 years, I bet.
I know, family members renting a hangar out there and couldn't believe how cheap it was.
Yeah, they're 85 and 65. If it doesn't have any power in it, it's 65. And it has power, it's 85, I believe.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
I think it's 75 and 100.
How many are empty, or are any empty?
No.
They're all full, last I heard.
What about that barn down the highway? Is somebody paying rent not to use the barn, or is that still free?
That's $300 a year, rent.
And they maintain it.
Yep.
When's that
Paint
come
it,
up?
maintain it, and
You wanna run it?
Yeah, I'll pay $350 a year.
see, every time he does that, I go back and then Matt will pay $350.
I'll write you a letter that I'll pay
What are you
$350.
gonna put in it?
Huh?
What are you gonna put in it?
Whatever I want. I need fentanyl storage from all these people coming up.
Pass out there, give them cash.
Okay, back to the sheriff's budget. What we need to do, and I just realized that when I looked down, I don't know where they're putting the nurse and, Ray. The Ray comes out of their deal now, rather than, I don't know when it got changed, but it got changed from the building and grounds to the sheriff's budget.
Well, there's a line item for janitor on building and grounds.
I know, that's why I wanna ask
So
what,
why did Ray is coming out of that budget?
out of the sheriff's budget, according to this.
When
Ray
did
Court,
that-
right here.
Right,
Yeah.
why would, I know, Bob, did Bob originally come out of there?
It says security and janitor.
And that's something
It
happened.
used,
Bob wouldn't go
it used to
there.
come out of the sheriff's, but it got moved over to building and
Buildings and
grounds.
Yeah, and then, well, at any rate,
And he's one of the deputies at the courthouse downstairs.
Ray?
Ray
Yeah.
is. Occasionally.
Yeah,
Is he?
Yes, occasionally.
okay,
that's
then
pretty
he may be
much.
coming out of the deputies.
That's
But
pretty
the other
much.
one, I don't know,
Well, it'd be, gotta be courthouse security.
we need to ask.
Okay.
He's there more than what you think.
See, I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen him.
Couple,
Oh,
3 days
yeah.
a week,
No,
yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I have never seen him there as security.
He's
Occasional work, but he's like he 17 hours last pay period. And over here on the side, it has part-time security janitor, so I don't know whether that 1750s is janitor or whether,
I don't know either.
I
That's
don't
why
know
I
whether
said
it's
we need
broke
to know.
out. Right.
And he may be split.
Yeah.
okay? It could be.
Yeah.
And then the nurse, we got a nurse there that is, we're paying $22.50 roughly, and she's collected so far this year $7,016. And we need to know where that's coming out of to make sure we budgeted correctly. That was my whole point.
Yeah,
I'm
I-
not complaining about it, we just need to deal with it. That's what I do late at night, is look for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Me too.
Anyway, then we got janitorial supplies, which is normal.
Is that what the bottle of Tums is for?
Would you like some gum? Building and grounds maintenance, I've got 75 grand in there, and then that memorial, they wanted to bump it up to 1,000, just in case. Okay? Then we've got administrative reimbursements, and then we go down to,
The health department administrative?
no, no. Administrative reimbursements would be the highway department and the, well, yeah, I guess it would be. Anybody that has health insurance, those budgets reimburse us for their health insurance payments, okay? Not administrative fees, maybe that's the
I thought
wrong.
maybe it was administrator who was gonna reimburse money back to the county.
I've got a new line item in there.
You don't have to budget it.
Anyway, again, you'll notice SIPs, the budget's doubled. We can go down through there. Our health insurance is barely changed. SSH, or HSA contributions are the same, opt-outs all stay the same. I put in a line item for labor negotiations. I might wanna put more in there.
It'll probably drag out for a while.
Audit, superintendents, contingencies, property tax and financial contracts, we bumped up to 80 because we're doing other things this year.
Contingencies, has 10,000 been enough?
Well, it depends on how carried away we get, but yeah, I mean, let me look at where we're at this year. Last year, we blew it away. This year,
7,700 currently.
yep. You want it to be raised?
I think that would be conservative to raise it. But I don't know what all
It's,
goes,
I can't
But
tell you,
I've
cause
done
that's
it.
what it just depends. Depends on what comes up, and we didn't expect it.
That's where you can do that control transfer.
And then building and rent, we don't rent or build anything anymore.
We did build.
Well, I meant, we don't rent.
Right,
Any
right, building
facility,
anymore.
building rental.
Yeah, saved money on that, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Not for a couple of years, yet.
Pay for stuff.
Yeah.
And then we got the coroner's budget. He does that.
He's probably want a pay increase, isn't he? I'm joking.
Actually.
Yeah, $600.
600.
That would've been done by ordinance.
It was in, yeah, it's ordinance.
So actually his budget is less because of not having to pay rent
Yep.
at the hospital.
But that didn't come out of his budget anyway, did
Well, it was dual budgeted,
it? Okay.
and I can't remember, at any rate, it reduces his budget. I can't remember which one we paid it out of. I had it in administration and he had it in his, and I didn't realize it.
Okay.
It's their loss.
I didn't think he paid it. Thought it came out somewhere else.
Then we've got, IT. just for those of you who are new, a number of years ago, every department had a IT line item, and when we went to full-time IT person, we pulled all those out of the budgets and put it into one budget, so that, we could manage the funds and make sure that we took advantage of buying in bulk and doing things and the economies that come with that.
The part-time person, do you know how many hours they work a week?
Roughly 20 to 25. Yeah, the kid's working out good. I shouldn't call him a kid. The young man is working out well. He does a lot of the stuff that can free him up or Russ to do other things. In other words, he can build stuff, take care of some of the more mundane things, and that leaves him for more problem solving. And of course, Joseph Myers, that's what we budget every year. If we make some of the adjustments we've talked about, it'll be about even, because we're taking 10 grand away from that one. And if we cut down some of the other things, there'll be room to add to contingency, and what was the other thing? I marked it. Oh, labor relations. The budget shouldn't increase at all. It should actually go down, okay? I know that was really quick, but it does give you answers to questions, so at our next study session, we can go over the budget, and if you've got specific questions, then we can deal with those specific questions. And the Sheriff's Committee can report back to you on how what kind of things we did with the sheriff and his staff. If that makes sense. Did you have any questions at all?
No.
Okay. Well,
So
We-
this didn't have health department in it, or
No,
did
it
I
doesn't.
sleep through that?
okay, when you get
Yeah.
the final budget, and we'll get that to you, there's a huge package, and it'll have all kinds of other budgets. It'll have the highway budget, it'll have the bridge fund, it'll have all the other budgets, okay?
Warren Health Department.
Yep, it'll all be there. We'll try, I just haven't been able to get it, because Don hasn't been able to turn it out yet. We do have the health department budget though,
Yes.
okay? So there's still work to do, and there's still information we need to get to you. But I think by having this meeting, we're ahead of last year. We caught up, so. We do need a special, or a closed session though. It won't take too long, but we need to inform you about a couple of things that are happening. And there's really nothing for us to do, but I don't want you to hear it on the street and then go, so. Can I have are there any other questions from anybody else in the audience?
I have one for an animal control guy. I heard you say she takes animals to other counties. What's she taking to other counties for?
Gets rid of, or they adopt them, right?
I think Park County will take some to adopt out over there.
It's just kinda like a car dealers.
We have
If somebody has a car,
a couple
Take
that
them on a
has
leash.
a daughter that works in Paris. They live around Chicago. They fly down here on the weekend, they will take maybe one or two animals back with them to adopt out.
So they're not
They're not hiding
selling
it.
them to
No.
people that,
No.
okay, because
That's stopped. The dog lady's gone.
Yeah.
we've found that happening in
I know.
a county south of
Oh,
Ector
yeah, I
County.
know who you mean, yeah. I first got on the board, I dealt with them. No, they're not selling, they actually are adopting them out and taking them and getting rid of them
That was my only question.
pardon?
That was my only question. The county, few counties south there, they were loading them in full-size vans and hauling them off in bulk.
No.
They
no,
take them to Missouri and to the auction behind the.
no. Andrew would not do that, guarantee you
But
that.
they've got a good relationship
Yes,
with
they
the
have.
Park
Park
Vermillion.
County,
It's
right.
Park Vermillion, it's over right behind the county jail over there
Right.
on 63 is where it is.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Andrea may get a call from him and say, hey, we've got somebody that,
That's fine. I just,
And that
Make sure
couple
they-
from around Chicago, they actually will take one or two back with them and get rid of, adopt them out up there.
Yeah, don't
Okay.
see her kid
Been doing it for quite a while, so.
running up and down the interstate.
Been up and watching cats, I got some cats. Any cats?
I got one cat, that's all I need.
Okay, let's, is there a motion to go into closed session for the purposes of personnel only? And it's informational, no decision will be made now or after the meeting's over, or before it adjourns. You moved, Andy, and Russ seconds. All those in favor
I
signify
second,
by
John.
saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
That's it, sir.
For putting in the time tonight. It had to be done, and I think it was good for all of us.
We're ready.
Okay, anything else to come before our special meeting on the budget?
You have to tell them they're still on.
Oh.
Yeah, you better open the door.
Do you wanna come back in? Sure. Thank you.
I did finally get an answer from Andrea. I texted her on Sunday. I
Okay.
don't know how things are going today, but everything's going fine. So.
So is there anything else to come before the special meeting for, budget? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Russ moves, Andy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Gosh, I got just time enough to make my next meeting.
I'm not.
We're adjourned.
I'll still be home.
You gotta say we're adjourned.
Oh, we're adjourned.